We need a round the horn mute button.
I know. Well, I mean, actually, technically, I do have one. I just need something to make a sound with it. But we are live. Hey, guys. Here we are. My name's Nappy Nick. This is the Dual Threat Podcast, available on the Holy City High Podcast Network. I'm here today with my fellow compadres, Buck Nasty, and Mr. Davies himself, Ryan the Hitmaker. What up, guys? Long time no see.
Feels like it's been a year.
Have you all suffered through the off season?
It's been a couple of years since Florida State was relevant.
Oh man, just already.
We're just gonna start that right off the rip. Huh? That's what we're gonna do.
1 minute in.
That's what we're gonna do.
That's what we're doing.
Just let them know. Let them know.
Let them know. But the hate is still strong. And a wise comedian once said, "If you got hate in your heart, let it out." If you got hate,
especially at the Players Ball.
Well, we got a big weekend. Gear up. It's the opening. Well, not the opening weekend. The real opening weekend for college football. Labor Day weekend. 5 days of football straight. Starting on Thursday night. Open up with Boise State in South Florida. We're not gonna cover every game. We're gonna cover the big ones, the big five, at least that we view are big. We will get some insight on some few games at the end. Each one of us are going to give you some of our best plays for the weekend. Before we get started, we're going to do a review of week 0 as we cover. Had 5 games or 4 games. Five games. Iowa State with a big win in Ireland over Kansas State, 24-21. UNLV, I was watching this game. It was wild. For the most of the part, was losing this game to Idaho State till they got hot in the fourth quarter. But Dan Mullen got his first win, 38-31, giving up 600 yards of offense. Kansas took to the woodshed on Fresno State, 31-7. Western Kentucky defeated Sam Houston State, which I guess I left off the graphic, 41-24. And Hawaii gets their first Power 4 win in program history over the
really.
Yep, over the ACC football power, Stanford. 23-20 with a kicker who learned how to kick on YouTube.
Been a long time since that Sugar Bowl matchup with Georgia, I guess.
Yeah, right. Man, shout out to Cole Brennan. Any thoughts on week 0, guys?
I mean, I don't want to overreach this early, but I'm pretty sure you can say that the winner of the Kansas State-Iowa State matchup was going to be the favorites to take the Big 12 this year. I mean, if you want to believe Colorado might be in the mix, go ahead. Texas Tech might have a legitimate shot, but in my opinion, Iowa State, Kansas State, those are probably the 2 best in the Big 12, and Iowa State's off to an early start.
Yeah, the interest I had in week 0 was in the name. That was a terrible way to start it off. I hated it.
I mean, I'll admit the Kansas State-Iowa State game was real sloppy. I mean, I don't remember how many turnovers were between both sides. Not fumbles or interceptions, but constant turnovers on downs, which does not make for a super interesting game. But
I mean, it was raining, so like, there was a lot of slippery play. They're playing Ireland. The power was at the Guinness Brewery.
Yeah, I don't know if Iowa and Kansas really get rain either, so maybe it was new for them.
Yeah, they come from the Midwest to Ireland, man. That's a hike. That's a hike. All right, we're gonna put that to rest. We're gonna open the season, or hoping the floor with the per much. It's red. LSU number 9. LSU traveling to Death Valley. Is it the real Death Valley or is it the fake? Yes. We're about to decide on this. Take on Clemson Tigers. Clemson's 4-point favorite. Over under is 54.5. First question for the floor, guys. Brian Kelly in a season opener. For Brian Kelly, he had 5 straight losses. A loss to Mississippi State, loss to UCLA, 2 losses to FSU, and a loss to USC. Y'all think he can get a win, but actually not get a win? Can his team show up for open for the first time, especially in like a pretty pivotal year for LSU? Sorry, Ryan.
Oh, I start. I was gonna let the Buckmaster.
Nah, I'm gonna hold.
He's got the good take. Yeah. Honestly, I'm gonna say no. Brian Kelly, I wouldn't say he's exactly looked lost at LSU, but the downsides that we saw at Notre Dame that, people regularly brought up why they weren't competing for a national championship every year, we're seeing that at LSU right now. You drop games that you shouldn't, whether they be big names where you're on primetime TV, you should be ultimately prepared and they look like they got their feet stuck in the mud, or games you shouldn't be losing. And Clemson going into the real Death Valley, first of all. Second of all, you got Cade Klubnik, excellent passer, potential first overall pick, Heisman candidate right now. A lot of pressure. I don't think Brian Kelly's going to make the grade this year.
Okay, your thoughts, Matt?
I'm going to go devil's advocate here. Everybody said Kirby Smart couldn't beat Georgia, and now that's all he does. So all you got to do is start winning that opener. I mean, look at Georgia. They beat Alabama every time they played recently. Kirby could not get over the Bama hump until he did, and now he's just streamlining along. Screen switch threw me off.
My bad.
You're good. So, I mean, I think he can. I think that's going to be a really good game. I'm not going to go into that much detail into it because I know we're going to talk a little bit more about that one. But I do think they have a chance of getting over that hump. They didn't look great last year when they started off against Southern Cal, but I think it'll be a close game. I do think they will not get blown out of the building.
Okay. Well, let's stay on that. So you got pretty much a big QB duel in this game between essentially like two of the highest rated quarterbacks. This at least plan on coming out next year for the draft. Who do you think has more pressure to perform between Cade Klubnik and Garrett Nussmeier? Matt, I'll let you take lead on this one.
I think it's Cade. I think you've heard all off season, Cade for Heisman. Cade's a first round top 5 pick. Now Garrett is too, but you keep hearing Cade. Clemson should be in the national title run. If you watch the ESPN figureheads, this is a favorite, ACC to get in the playoffs and run in the playoffs. Puts a little bit more pressure on Cade. Now, he does have the receiving core that I think is one of the top in the country. That will help. And then their running back situation is a little bit fluid with Adam Randall converting back there. So we'll see how that goes. We only saw one game against Texas, so I'll be interested to see how that conversion goes after a full offseason. But I still think it's Cade with all the hype.
Same question to you, Ryan.
I agree. Cade's got all the pressure on him right now. Same point. Been talking all offseason. This is his team. He's third-year starter right now. Potential top 5 pick, possibly even the number 1 overall pick. Nussmeier, is he in the conversation for a top 10 pick, one of the first quarterbacks off the board? Absolutely. But, I mean, how much have you seen his face around ESPN or anything like that? Not nearly as much as Cade. So one's in the spotlight. One gets to sit back, relax, enjoy his new receivers, because LSU, just like every year, they have to restock at the wide receiver position. And he's mostly going to be worrying about the flow that he can control. I expect Cade's probably going to be worried about the game as a whole a lot more. And I don't think the pressure will get to him, but I think he's going to make a few costly mistakes here or there that might look bad at the time, just because he's got a whole lot riding on this. You want to start strong if you're going to be the first overall pick.
That's a fair point. Fair point. And I guess finally, go back to Ryan. Who do you think pretty much needed this win more to set the tone for their season moving forward?
Definitely Brian Kelly and LSU. Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of big game opportunities that they've had. They have not met expectations, let alone some of the games they were expected to win and didn't. Florida State 2 times. I really think that despite his contract and despite what this is his 5th year, I think Brian Kelly's feeling a hotter and hotter seat by day. So this win's a lot bigger for him. We know Dabo's going to be at Clemson until he doesn't want to be anymore. Dabo's not feeling the heat. Brian is definitely feeling it.
All right, same question to you, Matt.
I'm going to go with the ACC. You know, I mean, Clemson is the workhorse this year that's projected to lead the ACC. There's not a whole lot else behind them. You've got SMU, maybe Miami, Notre Dame partially if you count them. Nobody knows how to count them. I mean, it's lackluster, but you know, Clemson's bringing in Tom Allen to help run that defensive coordinator position. You know, Riley. Don't know how long he's going to be there as the OC. You know, Clemson's losing a lot of guys, so I definitely think it leans more towards Clemson. But more important, the ACC needs a strong start.
Yeah, the
Especially
ACC
after
definitely needs a
Stanford.
strong start. I mean, that's usually the first conference people count out when it comes to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, oh my bad. So who? I guess go back to Matt. Who do you have in this game? And why?
So I took it as a close game, but with LSU getting 4 points, I'm going to take the points. I think it's a field goal game. You know, there's not a lot of tape on a lot of these newer guys, especially with the transfer portal. You can look at everything. I still think Clemson's trying to figure out their DC position, figure out how they're going to run that defense. But I do take the LSU in 4 points.
All right, you Ryan?
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna have to take Clemson on the over on this one. 3.5. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take it. I do think it's gonna be close. I don't think it's gonna be a field goal game. Maybe a one possession game, but I do expect Clemson to be able to separate themselves a little bit, at least if not early. We're coming right out of the gate at halftime. That's when that's a spot they usually shine, is right after Dabo's mid-game speech. So, yeah, I definitely think they have an opportunity to pull away there. LSU might make a comeback in the fourth quarter. They've done it before. They're pretty good at that. Brian Kelly makes games close, but I'm going to take Clemson on this one.
All right. I will probably go with Ryan and go with Clemson to cover. I think the problems with LSU, the biggest problem is you had some NFL talent at offensive line last year, and they all went to the NFL. So you're replacing an entire offensive line that still kind of struggled last year. In addition to that, you don't really have a running game unless you're going to run the ball. I'm assuming Gus is going to be chucking it. And on top of not having a good offensive line, now we got to see them live up to the hype, but this is projected to be probably one of the best defensive lines Clemson have had, at least since the 2019 team?
2018 team.
2018 team. Will they live up to the billing? That remains to be seen. I am curious, though, with Clemson. The only thing that makes me nervous about Clemson is even in the best games last year, they lost 4 of them. Like, you know, we know how you look against ACC talent, but when you're going against the elite, are you going to be able to show up and perform? That's the question we have with Cade. If Cade can show out, you know, this is a national championship team, but if he's actually going to be mediocre against really good talent, they can easily go 8-4, 9-3. You know, there could be a couple of slip-ups in there, especially if there's a team in the ACC that is not projecting to be good, but end up blowing past their possible win totals. But we're going to keep it moving. We're going to transition to another ACC SEC matchup featuring the premier teams. And we got Alabama Crimson Tide, Road Tide, going down to Tallahassee to take on the Florida State Seminoles. Bama, at the time, I guess I typed this, was 13.5. I believe that creeped up to 14 on some books. Started off at 12.5. Over under is 50.5. We're going to start with Matt on this one and let Ryan get his composure a little bit before you jump in on this game. Matt, I guess the first question I have for you with this game is, what position play or matchup intrigues you the most in this game?
Alabama's defense and what they have to say to Castellanos. That's That's all I want to see is after he's ran his mouth a lot.
Yes.
Does he back it up,
Fine.
or does Alabama just come out there and you don't know. But I'm definitely interested in watching Castellanos, just how he plays against that Alabama defense and what that Alabama defense they ramp it up on the tenacity just to welcome him.
All right. Same question to you, Ryan.
Well, Florida State definitely has a tall order. Mike Norvell wants this win. He doesn't need it, but he wants it. It'd be a great statement win after the season they just had. Kalen DeBoer, though, he's also got a lot to prove. So it's two coaches who are trying to silence all of the talk from last year, and that's what I'm going to be interested in. What's the play calling like? Is somebody going to trip up, start getting too conservative? Do they miss out on an opportunity of not taking a big shot down the field or something like that? With an unknown quarterback coming in through Alabama and a proven quarterback in another system coming in a new one at Florida State, I think this is going to be way more interesting than people give it credit for. It might even be a little sloppy, especially for two teams who are usually so clear-cut like Florida State and Alabama. But I am really excited about it. I'm excited to see what Norvell's coming to do prepared. I'm excited to see what Castellanos can do against that overrated Alabama defense.
That's Bo, as most analysts were saying. Bama might have the best defense in the SEC in the country. We're just gonna leave that at that, though. But Ryan, it's kind of going back to you then. So, what will a win over Alabama do for not just Florida State and its remaining perspective of moving forward with the schedule, but the ACC as a whole? If they could get like a big win over being like a heavy dog in this game.
Well, first, what it will do to the ACC is put all the other teams on notice. Right now, almost every single one of them showed up against Florida State and came out on top last year. I'm pretty sure that they don't expect that to be an automatic win year in and year out, but there's a chance that they're going to feel Florida State might be underprepared. So if Florida State pulls off a win against Alabama week one, everybody else is all of a sudden drawing their attention elsewhere. The other thing it's going to do, especially if Clemson could pull off the win against LSU, is it's going to legitimize a little bit of the ACC's playoff hopes this year. I know a lot of sportscasters have said that at most one ACC team might get in when you've got 5, 6, some people are even saying 7 SEC teams going to the playoffs, which seems outrageous. But if you have 2 ACC teams win their games against the SEC to start the season, all of a sudden there's going to be a wider discussion about, okay, well, if SMU does this, if Miami does this, if Clemson comes through on this.
Okay. How about you, Matt?
I think they need it really bad. I think Florida State needs this win. Maybe not even like needs the win, but to keep it with under 10 points, I think, makes them feel a little bit easier after last season. I do think Norvell's seat might be, it's not hot. It might be a little warm, and you guys might disagree, but I think that seat is getting a little bit warm. The conference needs this. We need somebody else to step up and be, the right hand versus Clemson's left hand, or however you want to put it. But I do think this would also carry a big weight for future conference realignment for Florida State and Clemson after that agreement they got this year. Maybe they get some more interest from the SEC if they show they can compete.
No, I definitely agree with that on that mindset. I think it's Ryan, back to this. There he goes. It's pretty vital. And I think kind of dub down your point that more so than anything, be competitive. Like at this point, I think the fan base just wants to see a good football product after going through such a low of last season. So and stuff. But I guess go back to Matt. This is going to be a question to Bam, I guess, a little bit. New change of quarterback. We're still post Nick Saban era. Can you see this Alabama team running the course of the schedule and getting back in contention for Natty and making the college football playoff?
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, I don't know. It's going to come down to quarterback play. And I don't really know how many people believe in Ty Simpson being that quarterback. You know, he's only 2 years removed since Saban's been gone, but I mean, he's still got some talent there. You know, he's still got some recruiting classes there. Ryan Williams is still there. He left nowhere.
Just
So, I
turned
mean,
18.
yeah, he's supposed to be like a high schooler now, or a senior in high school. No, he's supposed to be a freshman now.
Freshman, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they've still got some guys. I do think it comes down to their quarterback play. And I don't think many people believe in Ty Simpson. But they've also had game managers in the past and won plenty of national titles, but I don't think that they're as strong as what they were when they had just those game managers.
Okay. Now about you, Ryan. I don't know if you heard the question. I think you might be off. But do you think this Alabama team can get back to the college football playoff and contend for a natty?
I absolutely do. Kalen DeBoer's been there with Washington. This is not new to him. There's been a lot of talk. Everybody wants to dethrone Alabama automatically because it's not Nick Saban. Kalen DeBoer took a talented team, but a team not accustomed to his system, team not accustomed to his coaching style. Still won 9 games, 10 games if you include the bowl game, I think. And people called it an unsuccessful season. You know how hard it is for a new coach to come in after somebody like that and win double digits in a season?
Yeah.
I honestly think it's a little silly. Honestly, Kalen DeBoer's shown that he can do it. He's shown that he can show up at big competitions. He's been to the playoffs. He knows what it takes to get there. I think Alabama definitely still has the talent. Like Buck said, they've got the Nick Saban recruiting classes still around. They've got a few transfers who have come in the last couple of years, provide depth. I mean, it should have the talent to make the playoffs. All depends if they can execute.
All right. Well, with that, Ryan, unless you have first dabs, what do you think? So who you got with Bama, Florida State?
What do you think, man? You know I got Florida State all day with the upset. Come on. I'm
Shock the world.
31-21. Florida State. Castellanos is going to prove everybody wrong.
All right. Pass over to Buck Massey. What you thinking? As
Me
a
and
resident
Ryan
fan,
Me and Ryan
ACC
never agree on anything. Give me the Tide to roll and Castellanos to be reminded on why he lost his job at BC.
Well, if I'm betting this,
Because it's too passionate.
if I'm betting this, I'll probably take Florida State to cover. I was listening to the NoCast pod, and obviously this is a homer pod, but they also do play. They don't play favorites. They actually kind of break down the analytics. And I will say our DB group is probably the best position group on this team by far, as far as like depth. And Tony White plays a lot of zone, aggressive defense, but he plays a lot of zone in the back end. So the makeup with our defensive line not being maybe up to part of the Florida State standards, I think blitzing is going to be the case, especially if you confuse a quarterback. You know, he's been there for a while, but he's never been the starter. He's been passed over for a reason. That's probably the best chance of Florida State winning, but I'm not sure. The offense, I'm just going to have to see it. I'm going to have to see this offensive line compete. We got 4 new starters from the last year's compared to last year's team. On the running back room, that's going to have to be the strength of this team. You hoping this freshman, this is Krumah? Yeah, Krumah hits. If not, I think, how this game looks going to determine if Florida State's going to go 7-5 or possibly 9-3 or 10-2, and maybe try to make a playoff bid.
I will say, with, like you mentioned, the heavy defensive back depth and the weak defensive line depth, I would not be surprised, especially with Tony White at the helm, to see a lot more 3-3-5, 2-3-6 Lineups. He loves to blitz. The zone blitz is a specialty of his. Well, maybe not a specialty, but something he is known to frequent when time calls for it. Loves bringing up those safeties for surprise blitzes or off the corner. And if the talent is there, he's going to utilize it.
Definitely will. Well, I forgot to do this on the last slide, so I guess this is the perfect time to do it now. Just make sure I have my marker. So we got to get Jacoby's thoughts, right? So just like Jacoby, who's moving to Hawaii, if you haven't know, to our fan base today. Now I told these guys this, I think Friday or Thursday, I posted these questions up. So they had about 5 days to get it to me, especially him knowing that he was moving, and he waited till he was actually going through TSA to pass them over to me. So but I had some time to make some thoughts, and we got Jacob's thoughts since he can't be in person. Clemson LSU game. He has Clemson to win and cover. Heisman coming to Clemson with Cade. He's big on Cade in the receiver group, looking to see new and improved defense from last year. His thoughts on LSU. Garrison improving from last year on the Kelly. And LSU needs a key win, but will not get this one. In the Florida State Alabama game, I guess I cut this off typing. He has Florida State winning this game, so he's an ACC homer. He says new quarterback. This is how much research he does. New quarterback in Tallahassee looks good. Bring it back to a good season. We're looking at 8 or 9 wins for Florida State. He's still not on DeBoer on his second year, but I think Florida State's going to get the victory at home. Any thoughts on Jacob thoughts?
Yeah, Jacob needs to have a little deeper pool. Dipping in the
Not
shallow end as
surprised by
usual.
anything you said.
No, all of that adds up. Yeah, all that sounds like something he'd say.
Right.
Right. But like I said before, I do think he's wrong about Kalen DeBoer. I know that that's a very popular thought process right now, all across sports world, at least in college football. But I'm sold on anybody who can take Washington to a national championship appearance. Like, that's not a team that's regularly out recruiting teams like Ohio State or Michigan or Alabama, definitely not Georgia. So he's got the coaching chops. Just needs to bring it all together, get the talent where it needs to be, and like I said earlier, execute.
Well, I hear that. Well, we're gonna move on to pretty much the game of the weekend. Number 1 Texas travels over to Columbus, Ohio, to take on the defending national champions. Ohio State is actually a 2-point favorite in this game. Over under is 47.5. I don't know if I started it last time, so I'm gonna go with Ryan on this one. Starts off. What are your expectations of probably the most hyped player? Probably says Trevor Lawrence to come out, and Arch Manning take over this Texas offense, and I guess proceed trying to take him to the promised land.
Arch Manning, I mean, like you said, one of the most hyped players I've seen in a long time. Shocking, especially considering his relatively small sample size that we've got. I mean, 4 starts total with a couple appearances here and there.
Yeah.
Yet everybody's ready to crown him the Heisman frontrunner, first overall pick, what have you, the next NFL franchise savior. But we don't even know if he can win a full season at Texas yet. Texas is in the SEC. Sarkisian used to be in there, and he knows how to coach his way around it. We saw it last year, but Arch still has to get out there and perform. What's with the absolute crowning that we're giving him at Texas already? When it comes to Ohio State, Ryan Day finally did what everybody's who wears the gray and red wanted him to do. Got them their national championship. He was finally able to silence people who said that he didn't belong there. He didn't belong at the head coach table. That he was better off as a coordinator. So it's going to be, as far as headlines go, it's a masterclass. Like we've got everything we could ask for.
Fair enough. Buck Massey, your thoughts?
Arch, he got to sit and watch and get a little bit of playing time with Quinn Ewers, who I'm surprised, left to go to the draft. I figured he'd at least transfer to the portal and probably make $5 million. But
the rumor is Notre Dame offered him almost 15.
yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't, but I don't agree with all the money that's been thrown around. But anyways, Arch. I'm going to lower my expectations for Arch, and it's not entirely on him. This Texas offensive line is a huge worry for this Texas team. Unless Arch is willing to move around and be more mobile than what we've seen, in the past, I do think he's going to get hit a little bit more because this offensive line is not great. So I am interested to see how he handles being QB1. We saw how it worked out with everybody's favorite on this podcast, DJ, when he got to come in and be the guy for the Notre Dame game when he was at Clemson. He looked like a stud. Everybody was excited. And then it was time for him to be that guy and be the QB1. And, well, he puts the fries in the bag now. So I want to see it.
Want to see it?
Prove it.
I definitely respect that. And look, he's at Texas, so it's not like Stark's going to ask him to do like a crazy much like run game. They have a pretty good running back room and a great defense. So
their offensive line, I'm thinking when the play breaks down, when that offensive line gives up a lot of pressures, is what I'm like.
Can you make it play?
Mm-hmm.
I respect.
He's going to have to. He's got to move it.
You're gonna have to.
Yeah, definitely have to. Well, let's go to the other team on the side. So, Buck, do you believe Ohio State has the tools and the players to repeat for Double Natty? Last year they didn't win the Big Ten. They went to Oregon, but they did beat the Big Ten champion in the playoff. Do you think Julian Sand replacing Will Howard, replacing Quinshon Judkins and Trayvon Henderson, you think they have enough talent to run it back?
I think they can make the playoff. I don't think they can run it back. I don't even think they're the best team in the Big Ten. I would take Penn State as being the best team in the Big Ten. But, I don't believe – I don't love – they have a lot to replace. Like you mentioned, QB, the running backs. I think that they had to do the defensive end. I can't remember his name's like Jack something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank. But that guy, he was like the epitome of Ohio State. But I don't see it yet. Do they still have probably the best receiver in the game? Jeremiah Smith, yeah. He'll keep him in every game because, just throw it down there. He's down there somewhere. So, I do think they could play into the playoff, but I don't think they could make a run through the playoff.
All right, how about you, Ryan?
I'm mostly in agreement here. I definitely think they have the ability to make it to the playoff.
Allowed, by the way.
Well, in that case, Buck's an idiot, and I don't know what we're talking about. I don't know why he would say such stupid things. Obviously, they're going to win the national championship this year. Why would we think anything else? But no, seriously, losing Will Howard, Henderson, and Judkins is huge for that offense. And you've got Julius Sayin, I believe that's his name, Julius Sayin, coming in as a freshman, trying to start behind national championship season. The two favorites for running back, I think, are Peoples and CJ something. I can't remember off the top of my head, but to replace that much production from last year is a tall order. The defense is still going to be there. That offensive line is still going to be there, but their top scorers need to show up, and they've got a lot to prove. And again, like Buck said, I don't think they're the best team in their own division this year. You got a real big case for Penn State. Michigan could have a huge resurgence this year. They've always got talent. coaching could. There you go. See, we were going to get there. We were going to disagree at some point. Coaching solid. So Ohio State's got an uphill battle. They can definitely make the playoffs. I highly doubt that they can run it back to back.
It was Jack Sawyer was the defensive.
Jack Sawyer? Okay. I guess the last part of this is I'll go back to Ryan with this. So, and I guess you'll both kind of touch on this, but I guess for clarity, who do you think is the X factor, or what position group you think is going to be the X factor or player to give each team a chance to actually get this W in this game?
Well, the X factor for both teams is going to be the offensive line, in my opinion. You got Texas, who had a bunch of holes last year. They might have filled a few gaps, but there's no guarantee that those players are going to work in the system and be able to operate around a purely pocket quarterback. They might need to space it out and try to separate a little more, which is going to open up a lot of opportunity to hit Manning. And as far as the O-line for Ohio State, that's probably their biggest strength. It is almost every year one of the biggest things that they've got going for them. And once again, they're loaded at talent on O-line. Even if Sayin isn't having the best game, if they can run the ball just by keeping the front seven back and getting to the linebackers, won't even matter. So both sides of the ball, the O-line, I think, is the biggest X factor for these two teams.
All right. Same question, Buck.
Partially right. Partially the right answer. I won't go both offensive lines. I think it's the battle in the trenches with Texas's O-line and Ohio State's defensive line. You know, if Texas O-line can give Arch time to make a couple plays, get the ball downfield to Ryan Wingo or I'm drawing a blank on the tight end, 87. I think they have a chance of just moving the ball right down the field. But if Ohio State can go out there and they have to, just hit Arch and see how he reacts at that hostile FSU, I think it's over. If Ohio State can put him on his back, I don't think Texas has a chance. But we'll see.
For me to chime in, I think the X factor is at the quarterback position, kind of stuff. And I think the X factor in the sense of who's going to make the least amount of mistakes. Regardless, you are playing against two pretty good defenses. Texas is probably the better between the two, at least on paper at the present moment. But, you're talking about what I think Sayin's sophomore year, I believe.
I think he's a redshirt freshman.
Redshirt? Okay, so they're both kind of going the same. They're both first-time starters, so who's going to handle the pressure? Say it does get the game at home, but sometimes playing in a home crowd can also be miserable too, especially if you're not performing well. But going the Buck, who you got? Texas, Ohio State.
I'm going to take Texas. I think the offensive line holds up enough, and they find ways to get Ryan Wingo the ball, and they just, Arch goes out there and probably throws, I don't say 300 yards, but definitely probably like 250. I just don't think Ohio State can keep up.
All right. How about you, Davies?
I've got Ohio State by a very, very slim margin. I agree. I don't think Ohio State's going to be able to put up the points that Texas can. The only thing is I don't think Texas is going to be able to against this Ohio State defense. As we both mentioned, Buck and I, probably looking at a weak offensive line as far as Texas goes. That is a big Ohio State defensive line, not to mention they got loads of talent at linebacker too, bunch of returners from last year as well as some incoming transfers, guys who get after the ball. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on Manning. I think he gets a few scores, but ultimately Ohio State's able to hold them off long enough that they can squeak out enough kicks to make the win.
As a Carolina Panthers fan, I should choose against Texas because Peyton Manning, his uncle, screws. He didn't even do much in that game, but he screws out a Super Bowl. And I should have my hate in my heart for all the Manning family. But my logical mind is telling me to pick Texas, and that's what I'm going to go with. SEC. I mean, this is conference pride, talking about the two biggest conference, and potentially the two biggest programs in both those conferences going against each other. This is a pride and win. I'm pretty sure the SEC commissioners talking to Steve Stark and be like, "Hey, blow him out, buddy. Blow him out." Big Fox is gonna be there. This is Lee Corso's last game day. And he's probably gonna pick that Buckeye, make him look stupid, shine sun on him. My thoughts.
Hey, real quick, Nick. I know you don't like the Mannings, but how do you feel about Adam Vinatieri?
I don't feel bad. Know why?
Oh,
Because John Casey didn't kick the damn ball out of bounds. He would never been in that position. So there's a kicker to hate. It's probably him, even though I don't hate him. He was actually a pretty good kicker for us, except for one play. Kind of like Cam was a good player for us, except for one play, But that play made a difference.
You got to jump on that ball.
You got to jump on that balls, man. Attack balls. All right, we're going to keep it moving. We have a big game on Sunday night. A pseudo ACC conference game. Got number 6 Notre Dame, your runner-up for the national championship, traveling down to the Etihad Stadium in Miami, Florida, to take on the Canes. Notre Dame's 2.5-point favorite. Over/under is 49.5. Ryan, how about you kick us off? Let me pull up my question. Make sure I'm not missing. 2 new starters taking over. Which quarterback needs to perform to get this win in this game and potentially springboard their way to making a return to the college football playoff? Well, return for Notre Dame.
Well, I'll tell you, I think there's definitely a lot more pressure on Carson Beck. He's talked himself a big game. He made it seem like he was essentially irreplaceable at Georgia, then went on to go to Miami. Has done nothing but talk about how much he is going to help the team and bring them to the next phase of the college football playoff. So he set himself up in a nasty way, because if he doesn't perform, he's the only one who looks bad in it. Oh geez, of course I can't remember his name right now, but Miami's coach is definitely a shit talker, but he only does it when he's really confident. And he's Cristobal, thank you. He's been oddly mum on Carson Beck this year, when he was touting unabashedly about Cam Ward last year. All I'm going to say is Georgia lost the most games it had in like 6 years last year. And maybe the reason why has moved on down to South Beach.
Okay. How about you, Buck? Don't hear you. Oh, you're on mute. Oh, there you go.
So I'm going to agree. I think it's Carson Beck. Different reason, though. Notre Dame has the best running back in the country in Jeremiah Love.
Mm-hmm.
The man was hurt after that Southern Cal game, still averaged 7 yards a game. Miami has Mark Fletcher Jr., who is a good running back, but I do not believe he is anywhere near the level of Jeremiah Love. And I do believe that'll allow CJ Carr to have a little bit easier transition into starting than Carson Beck will. Because also, Carson Beck can't play defense.
Yeah. Well, let's go back down. So, but do you think this Miami defense could be improved? And if they are improved, do you think they would be improved enough to get this team to a playoff?
They brought in the new DC guys from Minnesota, Corey Heatherman. I think he gave up 19 at Minnesota. Pretty good. And then you realize he gave up 31 against Iowa, and you're like, I don't know. Iowa scored 7. But no, Miami did bring in a lot of secondary help. They brought in a guy from Wisconsin, Washington State, but they didn't bring in a lot of D-line help. They brought in 1 D-line transfer. Their D-line was very lackluster last year. It doesn't matter who you have in the secondary if you give the quarterback a month to throw the ball. I believe they're improved. I don't believe they are where they need to be to get to the playoff.
All right. Your thoughts on that, Ryan?
Honestly, I have a lot less confidence in Miami's defense. Yes, like Buck said, a whole bunch of defensive back help. But their D-line is still weak. I haven't seen anything to change my mind about that. And that's going to put a lot of extra work on the defensive backs because that linebacker core isn't looking too strong either. These are probably the two weakest positions that they have on their team. And honestly, you're playing Notre Dame with a running back like Love. You need to get pressure up on the front. And you need to be able to break through that offensive line. And I just don't know if they have the strength, speed, or stamina to do that all game long. I think even if they get a few good passes at the quarterback early, a few tackles in the back, by the end of the game, I think you're going to see those guys pretty wiped out just from having to deal with the run the entire time. I honestly think that's one of the reasons why Carr got is getting the start this weekend. Freshman, never had a start before. They're expected to lean on the run. That's going to make it easy for him to get used to the game speed and everything like that. And even with Miami knowing that, I would be very surprised if they're able to get enough penetration in the backfield to stop this run game.
So, Ryan, what's your thoughts on, who's going to win this game? And, the importance, not just who's going to win this game, but who's actually needs to win this game to get their season start?
Well, who needs to win this game is definitely Miami. They want to get to the playoffs. They want to be considered with the other contenders. They want to get back to that old Miami prestige that hasn't been there since 2001. But Notre Dame's going to come away with the win on this one. I think Notre Dame has the better coach. They have the better offense. They have the better defense. And they're traveling down to Miami. They're going to be nice and loose after playing in fall up in South Bend for the whole last month. They're going to be ready for it. I just don't. Miami needs to win more. I just don't see them getting it.
Same thoughts to you, Buck.
Well, Notre Dame was in the national title last year. I don't really think they need it. But I do think Miami still needs it more. You got Carson Beck, who's making $3 to $5 million, whatever it is, and they don't have a lot. Defense was terrible last year. Maybe it's a little bit improved this year. I don't know. I think Miami has to come out and make a name for themselves. They've been to one ACC championship, and the first year or the second year they were in the ACC, and it was 38-3. They've been in the league for 22 years now. No conference championships. I know it's not a conference game, but this would be a start to let the conference know. But I don't think Notre Dame ever has anything to worry about. I think they cover this probably by close to, I'd guess, 7-10 points.
Catholics versus criminals.
Catholics versus
convicts.
The convicts, yes,
convicts.
Well, that's why you keep me on.
Consistency, man.
No, they were convicts in the 80s. Now they're just criminals.
Yeah.
Okay.
The criminals are at Georgia.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not as bad as
Georgia's
Georgia.
definitely taking the.
If you go to UGA, just don't get a car, man.
Just don't drive, bro. Uber everywhere.
Uber everywhere.
There literally should be the song playing at practice every day.
Athens isn't that big a city. Take the bus.
Take the bus, bro. So, Buck, that's who you got winning this primetime game on Sunday.
Notre Dame by 7 or 10.
I got Notre Dame by at least 2 scores.
Let's go. Clean sweep. Notre Dame over here. I think it's probably the best defense Miami plays all year by far. And if you did win with Cam Ward, how the hell I'm expecting you to win with Carson Beck? Georgia seems pretty content on getting rid of him.
This will be the best offensive line Miami goes against, too. And obviously the best running back. So I just don't think they can slow him down.
No, I definitely concur on that. All right, let's keep it moving to our final game of the Big Five, at least. We're head to Atlanta. I'll mark this. Don't forget. There you go. 49-26. Neutral site game, ACC SEC matchup, Aflac Classic. We got Virginia Tech taking on the South Carolina Gamecocks. South Carolina opened up as an 8-point favorite. I believe it's still holding steady. It's at 7.5 now, so it's actually dropped a little bit. Over under is 52.5. Buck Nasty. Let's start. South Carolina lost a lot on defense. Defense was not projected to be as good as they were last year. A lot of those players went on or are currently playing in the NFL. So, how are your thoughts of the South Carolina defense revamping and starting the season strong against Virginia Tech?
I didn't realize exactly how many guys they had lost on defense, but just a quick synopsis: Emma Warry, D-back, Knight, linebacker, TJ Sanders, D tackle, Kennard, DN, Hemingway, D tackle, Huntley, D tackle, Fortune, DB, Bam, linebacker, and Debo, linebacker. All those guys had significant snaps for Carolina. That's a lot of depth, too. Even like I named off 3 defensive tackles. There's your depth. The guy that I think he led the nation in sacks, Kennard, or he finished top 3 or something.
Yeah.
That's a lot. I mean, they did bring in, I think it was a starter from NC State, cornerback. You guys know more about Jalen Brown, or what was it? Sean Murphy, the linebacker from FSU. You guys would know more about him than I would. I don't know if he's a starter. But they did get some defensive line help in Missouri's Jalen Brown, and then another Texas A&M guy that was a 5-star just a couple years ago. I just don't think they have the depth that they had. They do still have Dylan Stewart, who I think helps them stay where they are, but I do think they take a slight step back defensively.
All right. How about you, Davis?
I agree. They lost a lot of talent on defense last year. Absolute lot. Not only that, they lost both their biggest contributing running backs as well.
But they did get approval for Faison. Big transfer that finally came through after like 8 months.
We're talking defense or offense? I thought we were talking defense.
I was just making a comparison.
Follow the script.
But
be consistent.
If we're talking about defenses, South Carolina is still going to be starting a much more talented defense than Virginia Tech, and although Virginia Tech is expected to have one of the better defenses in the ACC this year, I don't quite think that they have the firepower or skill set that South Carolina does. I think Virginia Tech's still a little lacking in that department, and coming up against Heisman hopeful first game of the season, I think they're going to get pretty exposed pretty early.
All right. We'll go back to Ryan. Will Virginia Tech defense have an answer to stop Lenore Sellers as he's continuing his second year taking over the Gamecocks?
Ooh, I mean, honestly, no. Lenore Sellers, the longer the season went, the more mobile he got and the better he got at throwing on the run. So he started off the season mostly sitting in the pocket. And as he got more and more pressure, he got more and more comfortable being outside of it and making throws from outside of it. That's his biggest asset right there. I don't know if anybody on Virginia Tech, at least not on their defensive line, is going to have the speed and the stamina to keep up with him the whole time. I think you maybe have a couple of linebackers, but I believe they're freshmen who are supposed to be kind of the highlights of their defense this year. But the freshmen trying to take on a Heisman hopeful, that's a lot to ask.
All right. Your thoughts, Buck?
I don't know if you could stop him. I do think you could probably slow him down a little bit. I do believe Carolina lost 1 or 2 offensive starters on that line. It'll be interesting to see how they use Nick Harbor, if at all, because they didn't use him last year. The fastest guy in D1 football, and they can't figure out how to utilize that guy. Kind of blows my mind. But yeah, I don't know if they'll stop them, but I do think they've had all off season. You got to come up with something. Right? I get it's one game, but when you're trying to keep your job, which I do believe that DT coach is getting a little warm seat as well. You got to come something.
Okay, and last take I would say is, how important is the win for either side when you're choosing South Carolina, Virginia Tech? I'll start with Matt with this.
I don't think Carolina. I don't think it means much to them. I don't think it's nearly as important to them as it is Virginia Tech. Shane Beamer's not on the hot seat. Carolina expects to win this game. So if they win, all right, check. Virginia Tech, I do think if they get off a win here against a team that some people are thinking could make the playoff, then I think that's a huge win for Virginia Tech.
Okay, you, Ryan?
Yeah, I tend to agree again here. Carolina, this game, if they win, Carolina, if they win, that's expectations. They're meeting expectations, and it should be nothing less for Coach Beamer. Virginia Tech, it would mean more to the ACC, honestly, and the competing teams who might wind up in the playoffs than it would be for Virginia Tech. Just legitimize their conference's chances of being in the playoffs a little more. So, honestly, I wouldn't say it's a huge game for either team. Conference-wise, the ACC needs this more than anything.
So Ryan, who do you think has? What's your pick for the game?
I gotta go with South Carolina, man. Like Lenora Sellers, even if he doesn't completely take over, I think he does enough to let the offense move down the field and score when they need to. Virginia Tech, I mean, you've got, like I said, two freshmen who are supposed to be their bell cows, and Ben Bell and James Jokum, and I wouldn't be too thrilled as a defensive coordinator, even if it is Sam Seifs who just came in here. Wouldn't be super stoked that my two best players are freshmen coming against a potential playoff team.
All right, you, Matt?
Yeah, I lean towards just taking Carolina.
Is that me? The Matt frozen?
No, that was him. Yeah.
Okay.
So now that Buck's out, we can officially do welcome to the Florida State 2025 Charleston podcast, the biggest podcast in Charleston for your Florida State news.
Yeah,
welcome back.
I probably should. I need to send this to. I'm sending to the Florida State Club. If you're watching this down the road and you're a local Seminole in the Charleston area, they do game day watch parties over at the Kick and Chicken downtown. So there's a new guy that took over it. He's actually put some effort into getting alumni or fans to come out there to watch it. So if they're available at 3:00 on Saturday, please go. You need a place to watch a game. Go check them out. It's a good venue.
It's a good group. I went to a bunch of them last year.
It's a good group.
I'll probably go to a bunch of them this year.
Yeah, I'm trying to make a few this year. I didn't make any last year. I'm glad it's not at the Charleston Sports Club. But Buck Nasty, since you're back now, we had sponsorship. You have to get in there.
Yeah, so I was thinking about just taking Carolina and the points. But I think I want to take the over because I just don't know what Virginia Tech has. But I will take Carolina in the 7.5. But the over almost enticed me.
Yeah, I think the over is probably the better play on this game. This game opened at 9.5, which I thought was too high. So I think there's a lot of faith. Even if you're checking the odds or you're watching this live with us right now, you can see that right now the money is like 90% to Virginia Tech covering. So we see how that looks once we get closer to the actual game day for it. We talked about it a little bit earlier. I'm kind of get back to it one more time. First, not this question. That's with the second question. How important is it for the ACC to get off to a good start? ACC, usually, like always, they get a lot of big conference games at the beginning of the season. This year, they got, I believe, 6. The ones we talked about, in addition to that, you got Georgia Tech going to Colorado on Friday night, I believe. Then on Monday, you got TCU going to Chapel Hill to take on North Carolina and Bill Belichick's coaching debut at the college level. I guess I'll start with Ryan. What's your thoughts with the ACC kind of least have an opportunity to make it known that, hey, we are a football conference.
They need it bad. You got three ACC teams playing 3 SEC teams who all are predicted to, or at least have some expectation of making a playoff spot. To show up and at least take 2 of those would be huge for the ACC as a whole. Yeah, the ACC needs a good start because, as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, a lot of sportscasters and a lot of these playoff experts only have one ACC team going to the playoffs. But they still have SMU winning between 10 and 11 games. They still have Miami winning 10 games. Yet Clemson seems to be the only consistent appearance that you see in the playoff predictions. I think getting off to a good start, especially against SEC playoff hopefuls, could legitimize the ACC a little bit, saying, don't count us out just because, we're not stacked at the top. We still play good football.
All right. Same question to you, Ryan.
I'm Ryan.
Not Ryan, then Buck.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. Especially if UNC goes out and loses to TCU, if Colorado beats on Georgia Tech, and then Stanford's already lost to Hawaii. It's not really a great look there. Not including some of the other ones, Clemson, LSU, South Carolina, Virginia Tech. I think the other conferences are favored there. Game, so it wouldn't be a really good look. So I think it's important for them to. If they can win 2 of those SEC ones, I don't think the Big 12 games are that important. But if they only win, let's just say 1 or 0 of those SEC matchups, those Big 12 games are going to become even more vital.
Yeah, kind of double down. You have opportunities. Obviously, I guess Clemson is probably your best win. I guess actually I'll take it back. Georgia Tech is probably your best win. Surefire win, I guess, out the 5 or 6 off my head. The rest of them will be underdogs other than the Clemson game. But you have opportunities. You can change perspective, especially if you're going to kind of validate having more than 1 or 2 Oliverbs, especially if they move this way, moving forward with conference realignment and not conference realignment, playoff expansion. Moving forward, if they go to 16 or Big Ten's 24 teams, that's a wild take. And I guess one more lockdown before we get to our best bets. Besides these headline games we talked about, what is another game that you're excited for during the weekend, or you might have a good eye on? Matt, I'll start with you on this one.
Thinking Georgia Tech, Colorado. The known Colorado hater. Colorado finally announced a starting quarterback in Salter, or Saltier, however you pronounce it, from Liberty. But I don't care. I like Hayes and the rest of Georgia Tech and Brent Key leading Georgia Tech to a victory there. But I'm really looking forward to that one Friday night.
Okay. How about you, Ryan?
You know what I'm actually interested in? Before I get into that, I didn't give my over-under on the South Carolina game. I'm actually going to take Virginia Tech to cover just because, not because I don't think that they can compete, but South Carolina has a terrible record of opening day games, and they usually somehow make even teams that they should blow out stay in it until the very last second. So I'm actually going to take Virginia Tech to cover that score. But one of the games I'm most looking forward to is actually Mississippi State at Southern Miss. So you've got Southern Miss. The coach came from Marshall last year, undefeated season. Didn't get a contract extension. Southern Miss signed him up right away. Interested to see what he could do, arguably with a better run in an area that's got a lot more talent. Nothing against West Virginia, but it's not like you're getting your 5-star recruits out of there. And Mississippi State barely squeaked out 2 wins last year. So they have incoming transfer Luke Kromenhoff, who I guess they're hoping will help save their season. But
There's a backup, right?
Oh, is he? I thought he got the start.
Nah.
Oh, I wrote that down and everything. I thought he got the start. Good. That's funnier.
Homers.
Well, in that case, yeah, no. I mean, I want to see if Southern Miss can actually recreate what they did at Marshall, what the coach did at Marshall last year. I want to see if they can host an SEC team. Maybe, yeah, it might be the worst SEC team, but host an SEC team and see if they can pull off the win.
All right. For me personally, I'm gonna give you 3 games because I go above beyond for my fans to catch on. First game's kind of out the woodwork. If you don't see a highlight, but I have Rice in Louisiana. Rice is going to run a funky offense, and I think it's an offense that can put up some points. So if you're looking for a team to actually like kind of cash out on, so I don't think the spreads are not going to get on them right because it's going to be a wait and see for a couple weeks. I think that's a pretty good solid. Number 2, East Carolina, NC State. Those are 2 teams that do not like each other. And the last 2 times they played, they have got on fights on the field. NC State is favorite, and I believe they should handle them pretty good. Even though East Carolina did kind of start looking good at the end of the season last year, but just for the theatrics of the game, that'd be a good one to watch. And to me, probably the best game that isn't a headliner, I think no one's talking about, but it's actually pretty pivotal for a potential playoff competition. We'll have Auburn and Baylor. That's actually be a really interesting game. I think Baylor is probably one of my 2 major dark horses of winning the Big 12 and maybe making a run at the Big 12 championship. I know Ryan was talking about Iowa State. My other one being Utah. But Auburn and Baylor, I'm gonna have my eyes on that. I got some money on this game, so obviously I'm gonna keep my eye on it. And I do recommend it. I think it's actually one of the better games of the weekend. Finally, we actually make a pretty good time in the show, guys. So good job on that. That's our best bets. This is going to be our segment. We always do. I know last year for my listeners or wide viewers that follow us, we did like 9 or 10 games and we chose bets this year, making the guys more accountable of their bets and see who they think are good points and good views. I'm going to keep track of them.
So I'm going undefeated this year.
Ryan's going to feed. I should have brought it back. I got to look into last year, see who actually won last year. But we're going to bring this back and keep track of this. Let's start with Ryan. So his slide's the closest to me as I take this down. And Ryan, speak on your bets. What's your thoughts on? Don't ignore the ESPN. I'm meant to take that out.
No, keep it there. Look, you know what? When I went for best bets, I'm going for ones that, in my opinion, are absolutely a no-brainer. You got Wyoming going into Akron. Akron was probably the worst team in college football last year by a long shot. Worst in offense, one of the 5 worst in defense, like one of 5 worst on special teams. Don't really expect that roster to have gotten a whole lot better. Wyoming, they were competitive. They almost won 10 games last year, so Wyoming going in, easy win. Nebraska, I mean, you got Pat Mahomes Jr. Coming in, getting the start over there. Cincinnati, Luke Fickell just has not seemed to impress me yet.
I just saw.
Oh wait, Luke Fickell left for Wisconsin, didn't he? Who's the new Cincinnati coach?
That's the dude from Louisville.
Brome?
Not Brome. He was before Brome got there.
Satterfield.
Satterfield. There we go.
Satterfield.
Satterfield.
He didn't impress me in Cincinnati last year. It's not Satterfield either. Who the heck is coaching Cincinnati?
Is that Satterfield? I'm pretty sure it's Satterfield.
Anyway.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Anyways, you got Nebraska. You got your boy from the Carolina Panthers coaching out there. It's going to be his second year at the head coach of Nebraska.
It is Satterfield.
It is Satterfield. Okay. I think things are finally starting to look up for Nebraska after a really long drought since they fired Bo Pelini. I think they go in there and dominate. And, yeah, Auburn, I really like that matchup. Just like you brought up, I think that's a good matchup. Auburn's going into Waco, but Waco's not exactly the most hostile environment that you're going to find in college football. Auburn's used to playing tough opponents. They're not really afraid of challenges. They play damn Alabama every year. So Auburn, I think they're a little more battle tested. They're going to come out on top. Those are my guaranteed bets.
Let's go.
Guarantee, huh?
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
Just go ahead and use the G word. Like,
Yeah, I believe. Why not?
Nobody checked
that
me.
Auburn pick. I do like Cincinnati over or Nebraska over Cincinnati. I like that spread too. I did consider that one.
All right. Well, Matt, we're going to go to yours next. Let me see if I can pop them up. There you go. How about it?
Georgia Tech, I do think they're a dark horse for the ACC. Their quarterback probably, I'd say probably the second best in the ACC, behind Cade, who's underappreciated in my eyes. Alabama 13.5. Sorry guys, I think Castellanos ran his mouth a little bit too much, and it's going to come back to bite you. Virginia versus Coastal. It's so hard to pull against the chance.
Right.
They don't have much this year other than free concessions at home games. So if you're looking for free food, do that, but don't go for the games. Notre Dame blows out Miami. Don't think they have an answer for Miami. And then I did take Carolina to cover that spread. I just don't think Virginia Tech can slow down Goggles. So it'll be interesting to see how that works.
All right, guys, those are Matt's picks. He's definitely at least go 4-1. Or I give him
4.
at least 4-1 with Bama definitely about to lose. Because I believe. Do you believe?
Matt, I didn't get an ESPN logo. I don't know how Ryan, who probably lost last year, got the ESPN logo.
No. That's reserved for the champ, son.
These are champs. All right.
He's got to give it to Jacob. Don't worry. Dakota.
I'll go through mine. I went off the beaten the path. San Jose State. They're going to be one of the better teams over in the Mountain West. I'm not sure if they can beat them Boise, but they're definitely fighting for it. They'll be covering 11.5. Tulane taking Northwestern, holds them at home. Take the 5.5 against Tulane. Kind of like what Matt said. I got 11.5, so I'm going to go back and check my odds with that. I got Virginia Hamlin. Also, Coastal lost their quarterback for the season, projected starter. So that's definitely so. We also have Utah taking the 6.5. I believe it's taking UCLA, if I remember right. And then I got Washington covering 22.5. I thought that's a big spread. I actually think I have Washington as one of my sleeper teams making the playoffs. They got a pretty good quarterback who started for them in Dedmon Williams. Why? Oh, my career glitch. Okay, we're good. That's the team you should be checking and watching out for. Not sure about their defense, but the offense will definitely be putting up points. With that being said, guys, got any lasting thoughts on this week 1?
No. I'm glad it's back. Finally, there's some football worth watching.
Finally back. I'm excited to go undefeated this year. Go Noles.
That ends really soon.
Ends really soon. But there you have it, guys. 5 days of football starting on Thursday with South Florida and Boise State. Please keep track with us. We'll be here every Tuesday night. We'll be consistent this year. Mr. Consistency. We're going to be rolling with Matt's title. Shout out to the toes. Yes, Matt has toes too. Shout out to Deion's toes. RP. With that being said, check us out next Tuesday, 7 o'clock. Tomorrow, I'm going to have a solo podcast going over future bets that you can capitalize on before the season kicks in. In addition to that, I will have a reaction show Sunday, maybe Saturday night. See how my day is flowing, if I'm not too wasted. Depends on how Force State is living. But with that being said, for Ryan, for Matt, this is your boy Nappy Nick. This is the Dual Threat Podcast on the Holy City High Network. Please check us out on YouTube. Please subscribe for 11 followers. We're also streaming on Twitch. Also, if you listen to this on podcast platform, please give us a follow over at Spotify or Apple or wherever you listen to a podcast. Gentlemen, good night. Appreciate you.
Let's go football.
Let's go.
Later, guys.
Yeah.